let's talk about this eclipse in Aries. So, when we have a solar eclipse, the moon sits in front of the earth in the sky and blocks out the light of the sun. And the only time the moon can fully obscure the light of the sun, instead of her herself being obscured, is when the moon is also conjunct the north node. So the three biggest components of an eclipse are the sun, the moon, and the lunar nodes. So let's explore where they are right now. The south node is in Libra, and the north node is in Aries. And what do we know about Aries compared to Libra? Aries is a much more self-oriented energy. It's about aggression rather than diplomacy. It's about doing things first and asking for forgiveness later rather than permission. On the positive side, it's about taking initiative. It's about energy. It's about activeness. And very especially since the sun is exalted here in Aries, this is going to be a very significant time regarding one's sense of ego and purpose and personality, especially since the moon is going to be right there with it. Incidentally, in agreement with the sun, but at the same time, the moon stepping in front of the rays of the sun and leaving only the corona exposed is sort of like a reset, because it is a very rare occasion that the light of the sun is completely and totally obscured on Earth, with the exception, of course, being the extreme months at the extreme longitudes. Hope that's the right one, longitudes. Whichever ones are the ones that go, horizontally across relative to the equator. Point is that the closer that people get to the poles, those are times when, say in winter, for example, at the poles, you don't see the sun rise for considerable amounts of time. But for the sun to be in the sky, like just in the sky, for it to be visible from wherever you are, and then for it to not suddenly be visible for a moment, it's kind of like a hard reset. It's like turning off the machine and turning it on again. And not to go into too many details, but if you look at the royal family's astrology, you will notice that there is a significant connection between them and eclipses. I'm not going to say what in this particular episode, because we got some other things to talk about. So, to put everything in a bow, to wrap everything up in a nice bow, this eclipse will be about starting a new cycle of initiative. As the most neutral term I can think of, initiative in an area of your life. Think about the different types of components think about the different types of things that Aries represents. Think about the impulsiveness, the adventurousness, the desire to seek entertainment. So, just as a general case, this Aries eclipse can be a time when people start a new sport of some kind, or they might try a new exercise regimen, or they might try standing up to people who they previously shied away from and behaved more passively around. With that in mind, let's get started and talk about how this is going to affect Aries. So, Aries, everything's up on the board already for you, Aries. We have Venus, Moon, North Node, Mercury, Chiron, and the Sun all within this house at once. And bear in mind this, that Venus is the only one of them who, I mean, depending on what system you use, isn't technically combust yet because it's far away enough. But let's explore that. Venus is in Aries, but she is receiving mutual reception from Mars in Pisces. She's being exalted by Mars because anything in the sign of Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is in the sign of Pisces, which is Venus's exaltation. So I feel like for you Aries rising people, it's going to be a major change in your life. This is gonna hit Aries risings the most directly. Like, there is so much to say, it would almost be easier to say what isn't going to happen. But I'm going to start with Mercury. Mercury being in the first house is its planetary joy. So Mercury in first house allows a person to develop diverse skills or competitive skills and a strong sense of self-mastery. Mercury in the first house during the eclipse is, I would consider, a favorable position because, as I mentioned, you're going to be learning so many new things about yourself. If you have a therapist, for example, you'll be able to communicate more clearly with them about the sort of things, about the challenges that you may be facing. And with Chiron in there present as well, if this is a time in which your sense of self-identity or self-esteem are well wounded, then it's a very important time to target and heal those wounds within yourself. This is all for you Aries risings, this is all about finding that initiative within yourself, the boldness to affect the kind of personality that you want to affect. And obviously, just back on the subject of Mercury, Mercury is retrograde, so the self-mastery may be delayed because you have to re-explore certain components of your being, especially any sort of chironic wounds of esteem. And with the moon in first, it may be difficult for you to hide your emotions. Like, it's going to generate a great sense of a strong desire to express your emotions. To not let them be hidden anymore. And with that also comes the affection and associability of Venus. Venus in Aries is all about, it's like the initiator of the love and the romance. Some would say that people with Venus and Aries outside of mutual reception can be very the place in which they show their love and affection may be considered non-standard for a number of people. But at any rate, with Venus being receiving that mutual reception in Pisces, I think it's going to significantly at least give you the opportunity to improve your sociability. It's going to give you the opportunity to improve your self-brand. You might even undergo a full makeover at this time where you throw out clothes that you didn't wear before and try out some new clothes and find that you like the style that you're going into. Anything that has anything to do with your personality or appearance, that's what this eclipse is about, Aries risings. Get ready to jump into something new. All right, we're going to go on to Taurus. So Taurus, where you at? Taurus, we're going to go here. All right, let's transition on over to Taurus rising. Where is it? That's the Pisces rising. I need Taurus rising. Okay, there we go. So Taurus risings, this Aries eclipse is going to be taking place in your 12th house, natally speaking. So the 12th house, if we break down the 12th house simply, because the 12th house is never really truly a simple matter, but if we do at least attempt to break it down into something that is, you know, digestible and comprehensible, we could say that the 12th house is the supplement to the 6th house, whereas the 6th house usually indicates one's physical maladies and physical chores, chores and concerns that can be seen if taken a look at. We have concerns that are a little bit more hidden in here. In the 12th house, these are spiritual concerns, mental concerns, and that doesn't have to necessarily be a bad thing. It may just be a time for you, my Taurus risings, where you just take a moment to back away from everyone else and everything and get in the kind of healing and the kind of self-care that you need when it comes to your spiritual or mental sufferings. With Mercury retrograding through here, you may find that you are less inclined to communicate with other people about whatever you're dealing with because you yourself haven't fully processed it yet, and it's a lot that's going on, and you just don't necessarily have the words for it right now. And so during this time, my Taurus risings, you can feel like even if you have like the opportunities to be around other people, you may isolate yourself, because this is all of this energy in the 12th house is isolatory energy. Hope that's a word. Isolating energy. You know what I mean. All of this is isolating energy. You have a lot of energy that's present in your 12th house, and the 12th house is not a social house by any means. So, you know, either you're self-isolating or circumstances will compel you to self-isolate. The only thing I can say regarding those circumstances is that they may involve your friend groups, given that the sun is ruled by Mars and Mars is in 11th, and, you know, go figure from there. But at any rate, just to be perfectly clear, like I said, take this time to, and use this word with a grain of salt. Take this time to attack the challenges that you have on an unseen level, on a mental level, and take this time to initiate self-healing, and that will benefit you in the future. That's all I have for my Taurus risings. So next we're going to go on to Gemini. Gemini, your time is 1350. We're going to call that. Gives me time. Okay. Gemini risings. Gemini risings, this is all going to be taking place in your 11th house. So if you have spent, oh my God, Geminis, I got to get order immediately. Hold on. Okay, so my Gemini risings, this eclipse is going to be taking place in your 11th house. You're probably going to be looking for my Gemini rising people. This is going to take place in your 11th house. So this is about your social friendships, your pleasures of the mind, your goal setting skills, your ability to go out there and get what you want as proceeds of your public reputation. So if you haven't been networking, you're going to start networking. I mean, you don't have to, but you better. You're gonna be making new friends. There's gonna be changes in your friend groups. There may also be changes in your whole thought process about what it is that you want out of reality. And with Mercury retrograding here in 11th, this is the planning phase. And one thing that poses something of a challenge here with Mercury and Aries ruled by, Mars and Pisces, which is to Mercury's detriment by reception, is that if you aren't careful, your approach can be scattered and unfocused. And you have to be careful about that, because when you have Mercury and Aries with Mars and Pisces and it's retrograde, sometimes it can cause us to communicate and or conduct ourselves in an unprepared way. A much stronger term for how it may cause us to behave would be reckless. You might have to be careful for failing to think certain things through. You are going to want to achieve new goals, but I will strongly advise you that until Mercury is direct and at full speed again sometime later, that you are probably better off in the planning phases about what it is you seek to achieve. And again, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's good to have desires, but you have to ask yourself, is this desire a flash in the pan, or is it something that I'm going to see through to the end? And if you want to see it through to the end, no matter how much fire you have underneath you to go do something about it, it always pays to have a good plan. That's what I have for you. All right, Cancer, let's talk about you. Cancer risings, we talking about y'all today. Cancer rising. Cancer rising. All right then, Cancer rising, this one's for you. So this is all going to be 10th house affairs. I have incidentally heard from a few Cancer rising people. Excuse me. I have heard from a few Cancer rising people that they're going to be up in an airplane during this time. And I told them rather comedically that that's too on the nose, because you're going to be up in the air, and like the air, the clouds, you know, and the highest places in the air, and that's where the 10th house is, you know. It's sort of its own comedy there. Like, you're going to be high in the air while the eclipse is also high in the air. Now, as this is a 10th house matter, you are going to have strong desires to work on your public image. There's going to be changes about your public image, the way the world sees you in general. And so, Cancer risings, you might feel like it's my time to express myself the way I want to on a public level, or at least a way that is different from how it used to be. I mean, we all expressed ourselves the way we want to in public. It wouldn't go well, right? No matter how much we want to be uninhibited, it's still generally good manners to have some public decorum, right? But in your case, people will perceive you less meekly, perhaps, or you'll perceive yourself less meekly. You're going to want to climb. For some people, it may involve climbing the corporate ladder and being less chained to familial obligations. I know a few Cancer risings myself that have made mention of them wanting to conduct themselves in a certain way and appear a certain way, despite their family desiring to the contrary. And given the angularity of Give me a moment. And given the angularity, this is going to be a very significant eclipse indeed for you all. And with Chiron in 10th and Mercury retrograde in 10th, this is going to bring up some old wounds. This is going to bring up some old concerns about your public reputation. You might re-encounter people trying to stop you from broadcasting yourself the way you have been. And you're not going to have that this time. You're not going to tolerate it. You're going to be like, I want to be what I want to be. And that's what I have for you, my Cancer risings. Let's go to the Leos. Leo rising. No criticizing. Oh, we got Leo rising. So appetizing. Yeah, that's right, Leo rises. And pressing buttons, yes. So, my Leo risings. With this eclipse taking place in your 9th house, it's rather interesting because the sun's light is being temporarily dimmed or turned off, but the sun finds its planetary joy in the 9th house because that's where the sun, part of one's authority is one's belief systems, which is associable with the 9th house. Because if one is able to dictate or impose upon others systems of belief, then that is a form of control. And mind you, that isn't to say that it necessarily has to come from a dictatorship as well. Sometimes it can come from a person simply just being so attractive or charismatic that people naturally defer their authority to that person. And with Leo risings, that's the kind of opportunity that you may have available. In other words, the sun will feel invited to spread its beliefs. So this will be a significant time for Leo risings as well, despite the fact that this is all in a cadent house. You may, my Leo risings, you may have strong desires to, give me just a moment. Okay. So, my Leo risings, this is a broadcast opportunity. This is a philosophy opportunity. This is a travel opportunity coming up. You're going to want to explore new things, foreign things. Perhaps some of you Leo risings may develop a taste for a certain food or a culture that you previously had no interest in or relationship to. It's going to take you far, distant places, whether physically or mentally. It's going to make you curious. It's going to make you want to explore. And for some of you, this will also have spiritual connotations. Like, I can imagine so many different scenarios. Like, I can imagine a person, if one has the resources, obviously, getting on a plane and traveling to a different country or a different part of their own country and meeting like a spiritual guru there and learning so much from them and just having a complete mental change as a result of that. I could see someone meeting possibly a romantic partner from a faraway land and going to meet them and finding out their culture is very different from your own, but enjoying that and appreciating it and incorporating it into your own way. So that's what I have for you, my Leo risings. Any questions, leave them down there in the comments if there's anything that I missed. And we're going to go on to the Virgos. Okay, Virgo risings. Virgo rising. Virgo risings. 8th house energy. Sun eclipse in 8th house. Be careful is all I can say to that. We all know the 8th house is a little spooky place, ain't it? It's the house of gains and losses of no fault of your own. Other people's power over your possessions. You know what I mean? Death, sex, and taxes. That's kind of why the 8th house is about taboos, because if somebody else knows something about you or has an asset that when this asset is used, how that asset is used affects you directly, that in some way, whether directly or indirectly, is power over you. Now, it is also self-power over others. It goes both ways. So for Virgo risings, especially since you are ruled by this retrograding Mercury, you're going to take some time. You're going to assess how other people may have power over you, or you may assess how you may gain power over other people. At any rate, the topic at hand here is taking initiative and gaining some form of dominance, not only over the self, but over others as well. Very warlike in that nature. And it doesn't have to be literal swords or weapons or anything like that. It can just be that you might be stepping into a managerial position where you might be responsible for motivating a team, for example, or starting a new project with a team. It could be something like that. It could also be something like one's own personal journey when it comes to their personal debts, like taking the initiatives to either gather or clear personal debts off of one's own registry. And you have to be careful with Venus transiting the 8th house here as well, because Venus in the 8th can make a person very self-sacrificial. Like, it can make you far too much focused on the other person while neglecting your own needs. It could be something as trivial as a struggle between a coworker in the workplace. It could be something like a huge debt coming in. It could be a large inheritance. But this house right here will have many variable possibilities to it. To see how it may affect you directly, I recommend looking at your own transits, and I also recommend looking at your own zodiacal releasing. So that's what I have for you, my Virgos. Next, we're gonna talk to the Libra risings, of which I am. So, Libra risings. All right, so I'm a Libra rising as well. And I haven't even pulled up the Libra rising chart. Okay, there it is. All right. Libra risings. This is going to be a 7th house affair for us. if you've taken, if you have been on the accommodating and diplomatic side, or if you haven't thought well of yourself in the company in relation to other people, or in the company of other people, this is the beginning of a massive change there. This is the opportunity to feel good about oneself in the context of other people. This is an opportunity to be seen well in the eyes of other people. And at the same time, it's also an opportunity to become more assertive. I don't want to use words like aggressive and combative, because ultimately we don't necessarily want to be those things unless people who we are dealing with are our enemies, right? If we're just dealing with neutral or allied individuals, we would want assertiveness, but not past the point of being appropriate. So that is the opportunity that Libra risings are gonna have. Like, if you feel like, oh, I can't get no girls, I can't get no guys, whatever it is that you're into personally, you might endeavor into some opportunities that help you change your self-image. And I'm not saying your self-image is going to change right away, but you're definitely going to initiate a campaign that involves changing your self-image. And with Mars in its 6th house of planetary joy, Mars is lending opportunities to sort of, on a routine basis, take the actions necessary so that you can actually develop this heightened sense of self-esteem among other people, and develop more interpersonal relationships, more one-on-one relationships with people. And of course, with Mercury retrograding through this house, you have to be careful that old flames from the past don't show up as well, trying to make things happen again, and you know that those things aren't going to succeed. They might, you know, if somebody comes into your life and wants to resume any kind of relationship with you, whether it's platonic, familial, sexual, romantic, whatever the case may be, if they show back up and it didn't work the first time, or you get into it again, really and truly ask, has the problem that caused this relationship to be unsustainable been solved already? If that problem hasn't been solved, you're very likely to experience the same outcome as you've been experiencing. And why subject yourself to the same kind of torture as before? Exactly. So that's what I have for my Libra risings. We're gonna roll Scorpio. Scorpio. Scorpio risings. This is all 6th house affairs for you lot. So this is gonna change your work ethic. And I'm sorry that you can't see the image because of my face. I'm gonna fix that right quick. And there we go. Okay, Scorpio rising. So this is a 6th house matter. This is going to be about your work ethic. This is going to be about your daily routines. You might pick up a new exercise regimen. You might take new initiatives when it comes to everything that you do on a daily basis. Develop new physical habits. For others, this may concern bodily inflammation, especially of the feet. or a headache, like an extreme, either all the way up here at the head or all the way down at the feet, is what I'm seeing. And with the sun being in the 6th house, it's going to imbue you with a lot of energy to get these daily matters done. The 6th house isn't a glamorous house, but one thing that people should remember about the 6th house is that what is done in the 6th house underwrites and supports the 10th house. Because if you are running around in dirty or unwashed clothes and you haven't brushed your teeth and done your hair, or you know your animals aren't well fed or looking well or anything like that, that serves as a hindrance to one's public image. And so for you Scorpio risings, this is going to be, I don't want to say a detour, but there is something very peripheral about this experience, just like for Taurus risings. And who knows, if you have already existing health issues, this could be a great time for you to take initiative on those as well and improve your health. If nothing else, therein lies an opportunity. All right. That is going to be it for Scorpio. Let's go to Sagittarius. 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 Put her in reverse, Sagittarius. So you don't be looking sad. This is a 5th house matter for you all. New pleasures of the mind, of the body more than anything else. New pleasures of the body. And with 5th house in Aries, you're going to be seeking the fun. Now, of course, being that this is the house of recreation, this is about any sort of just play whatsoever, especially personal play. Like at this time, you might find that you enjoy competitive gaming more, or that you want to engage in a more competitive sport. The sport could be water related for some of you. For others, I'm seeing, for whatever reason, I'm seeing speed sports. Like I'm seeing like running or swimming quickly. I'm not necessarily seeing like heavy lifting. It may be for some people, but for others, it's more like speed training. You know, some of y'all gonna be making kids around this time, right? With all that 5th house activity going on in there. If you don't want to make no kids during this time, you better wrap it before you tap it. Because look at all that Aries in there. That's fertile. Look at all that Aries. Just look at it. You don't see all that Aries over there in your 5th house? Oh my goodness. All that 5th house Aries energy feels like a dog on a chain, just nipping and begging to get off of that chain so it could just go run wild for a while. That's what I have for you Sagittarius risings, at least. I'm kind of mincing my words here, but y'all get what I'm talking about. And if you don't, then why are you watching this? All right, we're gonna go on to Capricorns. Going down to the Capricorner. All right, Capricorn. So this is all going to be 4th house matters. So for Capricorn risings, this has the opportunity to make you feel like it's a good time to get some privacy. It can make you feel like it's a good time to get some matters close to home taken care of. And this doesn't just include family. This also includes real estate as well. Like if you have a house that you've been eyeing up, you might want to move, like you might want to move to a new place at this time, like move to a new home necessarily. Or you might want to sell off some real estate, make some changes involving real estate if you have any. Any non-liquid possessions that you have, anything that's particularly difficult to move, you're going to make changes regarding that. On top of that, as far as family matters go, fourth house in Aries is a really interesting one because you might feel like you're hiding a lot of anger at this time. That it's time to keep the anger down. You might feel like, you know, maybe I should not let the world see this. This should come out in more private. This should come out more privately. It's kind of weird having Aries energy in the fourth house sometimes because it creates this latency. Not latency as in delay, but latency as in latent. Things that are being buried and pushed down within a person. So with Moon, Mercury, all of these things here, it will make you take more initiatives when it comes to your home, your family, your fixed possessions, anything of that nature. I wouldn't be surprised if Capricorn risings were, or at least for some time after the eclipse, just less outgoing. And alternatively speaking, if you were already a not outgoing person, you might suddenly become more approachable and or outgoing. It really depends. But my Capricorn risings, that's what I have for you this time. What do I have for my Aquarius people? Aquarians, what I got for you? Let's pull it up. Okay, so Aquarius. This is going to be a third house matter for you. Even more so than the Capricorn rising people, I feel like this is a case of hidden initiative because when the sun is in the third house, it's very internal, it's very mental. And not mental in like the UK slang sense, but you know, just up here related. And while the moon finds planetary joy here, I'm sure that the sun isn't too happy about being here itself. But you're going to gain a much greater understanding on an emotional level of what it is that you are angry about, and you are going to think about it on a large scale. If there is anything that you're angry about or the things that make you angry, you're going to explore why these things make you angry, and you're going to explore how to gain mastery over your own mind. There may also be like some fights in your neighborhood or some fights among siblings, or you know, just local competitions. One funny thing I could possibly see here is somebody going to a local pie eating contest. Not that those really happen that often anymore, especially after COVID, but you know, it's just a fun thought. Think it's definitely going to for others of you, this would be an interesting time where you might learn how to speak your own native language a little bit better. You may learn how to position or disposition your own mind to think about certain topics in a very new way. And with Venus in the third house, that imparts a silver tongue upon a person. You know, you might find that you speak more attractively, that you communicate more attractively, that people near you find you more attractive than before. That's about all I can think of for the Aquarius risings. And last but not least, let's go to Pisces rising. Pisces rising. Pisces rising. Come on, mouse. Okay. Pisces risings. This is a second house matter for you. So you're going to be applying Aries energy to your second house. You might become more competitive when it comes to finances. You might become more aggressive when it comes to finances. You're going to be looking at ways to increase your funding in general. You're going to be looking at what you choose to value, and you're going to value things that entertain yourself. You're going to value things that energize yourself, and you're going to just have an entirely different look at finances. Much like Virgo risings, this is a time to gain some mastery over one's own possessions, and be very careful at this time about bringing that Aries energy to what you possess, because Aries can be a very destructive energy, and if you're not careful, you can end up destroying things that you find valuable. So think them through first. Remember, Mercury is retrograding through your second house, and so during this time, it's going to give you a scan of the big picture over your finances, but you may find that you don't see the opportunity to act upon this big picture so swiftly. And also, I wouldn't worry too much, because by the time, at least in transit, by the time it reaches an hour of Pisces, the moon will be well past the eclipse point. But what you do in the future will still be relevant. So that's what I have for Pisces risings. Not too much there for you, or at least it's very compact. Again, if anyone ever has any questions, please just drop a comment. I'll be happy to take a look. All right, everyone, thank you for watching. We actually got through this one pretty quickly, and I will see you next time.